Hi guys, welcome to a beginner's needle felt tutorial where today we're going to be making this adorable little penguin. For supplies you're going to need gray batting. You'll need a little bit of yellow or orange, whatever you prefer for his beak. You'll also need some black, that'll go around his head. And you're going to need a decent amount of core wool, which will also be used as the white for his face. So let's get started. First off, we're going to take a pretty decent amount of core wool and we're going to start rolling it up, and we're going to try to make, I guess we'll call it a little bit of a rectangle, and we'll round off his head. And I'm tucking in the ends to try to make it decently flat. And this is the small size needle, and I have it two actually in a rubber band held together, so it just makes felting a little more quicker. We're going to speed this up, and we're going to felt the top and bottom pretty well, and then on the sides we don't want them too hard, but we also don't want them too loose either. And you're just going to try to shape and make sure that he stands well, and just keep stabbing away, stab, stab, stab. You can also kind of shape the wool with your hands. And I'm noticing here that he's kind of a little skinny, and we really want him a little chubby. So you're going to take more of your core wool and unwrap it, and then we're going to wrap that section around our starting of our body. Make sure you needle felt as you go. You don't want any loose wool. You can really use any size needle you want here. I just prefer my two that are banded together, and then also the one with multiple needles. It just helps it felt a little more quickly. And then we're just folding in the top, as you can see I'm doing in the video. Just trying to make his head a little more round. And his body's getting pretty well formed and defined. So you just want to keep needle felting and getting that wool in place. He turns out a little bit bigger than my original one, but that's fine. And now we're going to start doing the head part. We want to make sure we know where we want the black to start. So I just do a little drawing in the wool. Just felt a little line where I want his head to start. The proportions are completely up to you if you want him to have a smaller head or a bigger head. Here I'm just trying to get the base to be a little more firm, and then also trying to round out his head so it's not so much like a marshmallow. is me just defining once again where his head's going to start, and the black strip is going to be, also lets me know how far up I want to go with the gray once we start putting that on. You don't need to mark as deep as I did, but it's also kind of defining like where his neck is, I guess, so it's not just one blob of wool. Trying to squish him into shape here. Alright, I think he's looking pretty good body-wise. Now we're going to start with the other colors. We're going to take a little bit of gray. It doesn't have to be this particular gray. If you can see that it has like some black specks in it, you can do solid gray, you can do dark, light, whatever you want. And we're just going to take it and we're just going to lay it over the body and then wrap it around to the back. And we want to stay below where that line is that I drew earlier. And I had too much, so I just ripped it off a bit. Now we're just going to lightly needle felt in where that line was. That's going to be our marker for when we start the black. And you don't want to needle felt this too thoroughly, but we don't want it too loose either. And we just want to tuck it in on the bottom. Make sure it stays in place. And this multi-needle tool really does help. I suggest you get this. Usually it's in a beginner's needle felt pack. That's where mine came. So I really suggest you get one that has this. And I have a little bit of white showing through. The gray was a little patchy in that spot. So I'm just going to take another little tuff and just needle felt that in. Make sure we have full gray. We don't want any white showing through. He's looking pretty good right now. Alright, now we're ready to move on to the next step. You're going to take a really, really thin piece of your black batting, or it can be roving. We're just going to take a nice long skinny strip and we're just going to lay it right where we had that line previously, which is right where the gray ends. And we're just going to wrap that around. And then we're just going to lightly needle felt that in place. Not fully, just enough that it sticks to the body part and just doesn't come undone. We'll felt it in further in a little bit. And if you have any extra, just pull that off. We'll use that piece in another part. Having some camera issues. Okay, that's looking pretty good. I think yours is going to look really good too. And now we're going to identify where we want the face. We want to leave that white. So definitely pick out which side you want the face on. I'm putting another layer of black only because That was looking a little too skinny, one a little thicker. Alright, now we're on to the next step with the black. We're going to be drawing the eyeballs. Well, the eyeball. Sorry, where the eyeballs are being framed around. I guess we want to call it like his eyebrows maybe? We're going to take a little tuff and we're going to fold it over. It makes a little like rectangle. We're just going to felt that in place. Now you want to make sure that you have the placement right because we want enough area for his little beak and we also want enough area to go around. And we're just going to needle felt that in place. And now we want to go around. Face framing. You can make this big or small, whatever you choose. Personally, for me, I like to have the white area pretty big. We want to make sure we don't go over our black baseline. I'm just putting a little extra over the first part that I did. It was a little weak. It was just really thin. So see, we needle felt the top so it doesn't go anywhere, and then we're going to just define the line where we want it. And then as soon as we like where it is, you're going to lightly needle felt just to hold it in place. Make sure there's no wispies on the white. You want it to look clean. And it's looking pretty good. Having mild camera issues, the Nikon did not want to focus. Alright, now we're ready to do the rest of the black, which is around the head. I'll show you how to start it, and then you can pause the video and finish it, and then meet me back where we're gonna finish off with the beak. So you just layer it on like you did the gray, only it's on his head. You're using the black wool, and then we're just going to needle felt it firmly in place, and now we're going to start the beak. Now you can use your yellow, you can use your orange, you can use pink, whatever color you want his little mouth to be, use it. You're going to take a couple tufts, and you're just going to draw a U shape. And then you're going to fold the sides over onto itself to make it a little bit thicker. And you're going to firmly needle felt that. And you might get it stuck to your needle felting mat or surface, so pick it up and definitely make sure it's not felting to your mat. And then you're just going to play with it a little bit, and you're just going to get the beak shape. If you have too much on the end like I did, you can just rip the tuft off. You can see the little U shape going on there. And you're going to try to find if it's too long. If it is like mine, just keep ripping the back tuft off till you get the size you want and the shape. Then when you find your size that you want, you're just going to hold it up and you're just going to felt the very base of it at first. And then you're going to do a little bit center in the nose just to really make it stick on there. You don't want anyone to have your product and then his nose just falls off. If you have a little extra and you don't want to needle felt it in because we're not doing another layer of white, you can just take scissors, chop it off, and then push it in with your needle. I believe I'm using a large needle for this, the largest size. You can do a little pull test, gently pull the beak and just see how firmly it's felted in. It shouldn't really wiggle, and you shouldn't feel a tug. It should be very, very felted in there. This is me just cleaning up the edge and make sure there's no black going over onto the white where there shouldn't be any. And we're just needle felting the ends in. He's nearly done, you guys. You guys are doing great. I'm sure your penguins are going to look amazing. My hand's blocking a little bit, but I'm just firming up his nose even more. Wiggle test. And now we're ready for his eyes. These are 6mm eyes that you can find on Etsy. You're just going to take your needle and you're just going to start poking a little hole. Try to make sure they line up with the other one. And if you don't want to use these eyes that are plastic, you can take a little bit of black wool and then rub it in your fingers to make a little ball, and then just needle felt the ball just like we did with the nose. Start around the edge and then firm it up in the center. I personally prefer the little eyes. I think they're super cute. You can get them in various sizes too. Again, I got them on Etsy. That eye was a little bit not even with how I wanted the other one, so just nudged it over a little bit. Then pop them in, make sure they look good. And then the very, very, very last step is you're going to take some glue. This is a glue that I prefer to use. And we're just going to take the eye out, dip some glue on it, and then pop him back in. And then that's it. He's done. You guys finished your first needle felt tutorial, and I'm so proud of you. Follow this channel for more, and I hope to see you in the next tutorial. Felt on!